We are just 19 days from the midterm elections. All signs are pointing to a tight battle for the majority in both houses around the country. The races we expected to be close are very close, as are some we did not expect to be close. Most forecasters project the Republicans are favored to take the House, including 538, which puts the odds at 79 to 21. The fight for the Senate is tighter, with 538 slightly favoring Democrats at 58 to 42. Now, when you take a step back, it is really striking that's where we are. Because I think the question that has haunted national politics for at least 7 years now is, what will be too far for the Republican Party? How far is too far for the voters? In fact, that's what we've all been asking since June of 2015, when Donald Trump came down the golden escalator at Trump Tower to announce his candidacy for president and said, Mexico is sending rapists into this country. We thought we may have finally found the line. I thought we may have, when that same man fomented a violent insurrection and became the first president in history to be impeached a second time. But the answer has always been and continued to be nothing. Nothing is too far for the Republican Party. For most, though certainly not all of its voters, the millions and millions of Americans who consider themselves Republicans, who make up 40% of the electorate, but also for the upper echelons of the establishment and elected leaders and the donor class. There is nothing that will make them abandon their support for Donald Trump and end his party. And in some ways, that's become the single ordering force of American politics. It pulls on everything like gravity. And that is why, for observers of American politics, the scene in the United Kingdom over the last few weeks has been mind-blowing, just astounding. Today, after much speculation and anticipation and gossip, the Prime Minister, Liz Truss, announced she will resign.
A very good evening from Downing Street on yet another remarkable day. After just 44 days as Prime Minister, Liz Truss has resigned, the shortest premiership in British history.
This is what I thought that she would say, but it is still shocking to hear it. I mean, she has been Prime Minister since September the 6th.
Just 3.5 months ago, I was standing in this very spot, looking at a lectern in the same spot as the one that was there a couple of minutes ago, reporting on the resignation of the previous Prime Minister from the Conservative leadership. If you thought yesterday was chaotic, well, the chaos is going to deepen.
Now, despite her extremely short term in office, just 44 days, people definitely saw this coming. In fact, you may have seen this a week ago. A British tabloid, in classic British cheeky humor, they set up this live stream of a head of iceberg lettuce in a blonde wig to see if the Prime Minister, Liz Truss, could outlast that head of lettuce. Well, today, we have to say the lettuce is a bit wilted, but the iceberg definitely won, celebrating with these disco lights. And the Conservative Party is going to have another leadership election. Its third in a little over 3 years, just a kind of revolving door situation. Now, the important part of the story of Prime Minister Liz Truss, amidst the chaos and the very funny British jokes about this wild omni-shambles and the disco lights, is that she came into office proposing a wildly regressive, budget-destroying tax cut for the richest people and corporations. The public overwhelmingly rejected her plans, and the markets, well, they went absolutely batty, with the pound plummeting to a record low against the dollar. And essentially, her government fell apart because of all that. She was forced to fire her finance minister. He was the one who had trotted out this big new economic package, and a close ally. And then her home secretary, which is kind of like our attorney general, resigned all in the space of a week. So then there was nothing left to do. Liz Truss tucked her tail between her legs and resigned in disgrace at that podium outside 10 Downing. And what was especially striking about her resignation, and this is where things get interesting for us, again, observing from across the pond, is that it was driven more by the polling than by politicians. This week, a new poll showed that in a general election, were one to be held, say, this week, her party, the Conservative Party, which of course has ruled Britain for much of the last several decades, would be practically wiped out. The Labour Party would take a 36-point lead, leaving Conservatives with as little as one seat in Parliament. That would be a more than 20-point swing from the last general election in 2019. And not just that, Truss's personal approval rating tanked from about 30% down to just 12% this week. Now, this is the basic hydraulics of politics functioning in a way that has just been largely suspended here in the U.S. Of course, it's also important for us to closely watch what is happening in the UK because of the parallels here. Now, just listen to Donald Trump's own director, the National Economic Council, now back on cable news, of course.
The U.S. midterm elections cavalry arrived early in London. What do I mean by that? Well, the new British Prime Minister Liz Truss has laid out a terrific supply-side economic growth plan, which looks a lot like the basic thrust of Kevin McCarthy's Commitment to America plan.
Okay, you hear that, America? That's not me talking. That's not liberal MSNBC host talking. That is Trump's old economic advisor, Larry Kudlow, who's advisor of the Republican Party in economics for years, saying the Kevin McCarthy agenda is the same as the Liz Truss agenda. So they have the same agenda. And if you think what is happening across the pond sounds like a carnival with the crazy, destabilizing, dangerous actions of the Conservative Party, which is entrusted to government but can't seem to do it, just wait until you see Kevin McCarthy's House of Representatives, which will, I assure you, be much worse. We've already seen this play out a little bit. In 2015, a divided Republican caucus drove Speaker John Boehner to resign his post, retire from Congress after 24 years to go spend more time with his cigarettes and red wine. 3 years later, they pushed his successor, Paul Ryan, into an early retirement. The Republican caucus remains completely unwieldy, ungovernable. And after November 8th, they will likely have a vanguard of a dozen or two or maybe three, genuine extremists outside the bounds of what we had once thought of as normal, like having a couple dozen Marjorie Taylor Greens. And they will have control, largely. And get this, the House Freedom Caucus, which is the caucus of the most extreme members of the Republican Party, are already preparing to welcome new members, sending candidates this 52-page guide on what to expect and how to be a member of their far-right group. Caucus Chair Scott Perry of Pennsylvania writes, quote, "The simple truth is that it perfectly suits some of you are unaware or unprepared. Some will urge you to be a team player by falling in line with leadership and doing what you're told. You'll be warned not to rock the boat by raising questions or concerns with leadership's agenda." Basically, telling them, be ready to revolt. So remember, when you're voting in this election and you're voting in your congressional seat, you're sort of voting for your representatives, but much more, you're voting for whether the Republicans are going to control the House of the Democrats. Kevin McCarthy, is he going to run 1/3 of the parts of the federal government that are elected? And if you vote to put the American version of the Conservative Party in power, well, they are going to, and I assure you, make British politics look calm. Because here's the thing. They will have every incentive to precipitate crisis after crisis without facing the same repercussions. There will be no resignation. There will be no collapse of the government. They'll just be there. And that is a recipe for doom.